welcome back to Share Truth and Apply Scripture. Today we are discussing, as always on our program, we hit worldview issues. But the thing is, very often worldview issues have real-world, practical implications, and sometimes those implications are national policy. And that's why, not just today, but for the next couple of weeks, we're going to hit the idea of some national policy discussions. Now, here's what's cool about us bringing it up at this time. There's not an issue, there's not an action, there's not something that happened we're reacting to. Right. We're taking the issue this week of illegal immigration, and as far as I know,
immigration
and illegal, because those are different issues. But it's and correct me if I'm wrong, Wesley, but I don't think there's been anything in the news super big.
No.
Okay,
I mean,
so just to let you know,
but
this is coming just because we feel the issue is important.
But we've discussed difficult topics in the past, theology, doctrinal stuff, and then we've also discussed in the hot topics, like right now we're discussing immigration. We're going to talk about socialism and the Second Amendment coming up and such like that.
Super fun stuff,
super hot topic, especially among the millennials. And we really do pray and talk and pray and talk and read scripture to confirm what we're going to talk about on this program. This is not a hand in the bucket type thing. We're really concerned about the millennial audience and about their worldview and ours as well. So we do this together. I just want to know, when in the world are we going to have just a break where we can talk about SEC football? Come on, TJ.
I'll tell you what, as soon as you're ready to say hotty toddy,
okay.
Wesley, as soon as you're ready to say hotty toddy on air, then,
okay, well, let's keep going.
In case you don't know, that's the Ole Miss and Wesley State.
I'm saying hockey would be a good topic then.
She's still saying hockey.
Go Bolts.
Let's just keep
Tampa
moving.
Bay Lightning are in the
Okay,
playoffs
you know
right
what?
now.
This is Kelly, our intern, and we take no stock in what she says. But so the thing is, we are talking about illegal, or we're talking about immigration and illegal immigration. We ended the last segment talking about there's an assumed belief that we hold that we mentioned, and we just kind of bypassed it because it is an assumed truth that we have, that there should be a process. Now, Wesley, where do we get the idea that there should be a process?
Well, you got borders, which are in Acts 17, and then of course Jesus said, preach the gospel to all nations, all people group. You can't be a people group I can't be an American without being born in America. So you got borders. That's for one.
Well, you can be American without being born in America.
You can.
We're getting into that.
I mean, yeah.
That is immigration, Wesley.
Yeah. You're right about that. But so you got that point. So you got borders, and then that's non-negotiable. And then looking at my notes here, that then leaves each nation to decide its requirements. And so that's where we begin the open debate. We begin pulling out statistics and looking at what works best for a society, and that's the process that's difficult and long and all that. However,
and there's lots of room for grace and disagreement.
However, I do want to pull out two examples from Scripture that I think could guide our process in this, and one of them, and one's for legal, one's for illegal immigration. So you got the in Deuteronomy chapter 23, God temporarily suspended the Ammonites and the Moabites from entering the congregation of Israel. And so he did so because they were totally against, they were hostile toward the Israelites nation. And so as a result of them being hostile toward them, he said, look, we're going to temporarily. Now, eventually that was lifted later on. God said, okay, now you can. But that's one example we have. And I've written on this. And TJ has yet to give me a title for my article, but eventually he will.
Come on, TJ.
And when he does,
I'm slacking.
It will be up.
Hey, I do want to say this. We're in the middle of we're doing Share-a-thon this week, and so everybody's time is stretched. And if you want information about that, go to afr.net. I'm sure there'll be something. Share-a-thon's over,
there.
but I'm sure there'll be something
Oh,
there.
yeah. You can always give.
So if you like Engage and you want to support us,
do that there. So you got that example. And then, of course, on the other side, you do have an immigrant Ruth, who is a Moabite, and she was able to enter the congregation of Israel. However, she met the requirement. She said, your God is my God, your values are my values, and so on. And so she assimilated into the congregation with no problem. And then, on the other hand, the importance of, in my opinion, of having the vetting process and having the regulations or requirements in place, you can find that thought process in Isaiah chapter 1 verse 7, when it says, your country is desolate, your cities are burned with fire, your fields are stripped by foreigners, right before you laid waste, as you were overthrown by strangers. And the implication is there that in the Bible we find instructions for excluding strangers. There's a reason why we say yes to some and no to others, because some have sinister motives to and their desire is not beneficial for your country and your nation. So there's a reason for
so and that's part of the reason that we
Is
do
that a
take a
mouthful
stance.
enough?
I think so.
Okay.
But that's part of the reason we do take a stance on illegal immigration. The people
Right.
who are here have been through a process, and now whether the process is good or not, again, that's I think a whole different episode, a whole different discussion, and one that, quite frankly, I'm not educated enough to have.
Me neither.
But
But you can go to afa.net and type in immigration in the search bar, and I can assure you
there's a lot.
Yeah.
there's a lot.
So let's talk about illegal immigration for a moment.
No.
Yeah. So the question before us is what? Okay, I have not seen the latest stats, and I apologize for not doing that level of research. I should have. But I don't know how many illegal immigrants we have now currently in the country.
I'm gonna look
But it's a
at Kelly.
lot.
40.
Go.
Hold on.
No,
She has it.
Illegal.
The intern has it.
Oh, illegal?
Yes, illegal.
No idea.
No idea.
Because
Okay.
You can't keep track of that number. That's
You
something
can,
that
but
we don't know.
there's an estimation.
That's why they're illegal.
But
Yeah, I mean, come on.
TJ.
I know. But here's the thing. There's a lot.
Right.
Can we agree on
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
All right. So the
Maybe a
question
few.
now becomes, what do we do? Right? Because it would cost an astronomical amount of money to round them up and send them home, wherever home may be. So the question becomes, what is the best response? And again, we have to come to this and say, all right, there are principles that we see in Scripture, but there's not a verse we can go to say, thou shalt.
Right.
There's not the 11th commandment. What you got, Wesley?
Well, I was going to give Kelly because I hogged the mic the first couple minutes. I was going to give Kelly an opportunity, but I am ready.
All right,
ready.
let me see if Kelly has something.
Well, okay, I don't have anything incredibly intelligent, but as far as pathway to citizenship for illegal immigrants who are here, I do know that getting a green card is the first step to becoming a naturalized citizen, and you can't get a green card currently if you are here illegally. You have to go back to your home country, your homeland, and stay there for like 3 to 10 years, depending on the situation, before you can even begin the process of getting that green card. And that's one thing personally I would love to change, or see that change. Because I think that there are people who are here illegally for whatever circumstance, some very legitimate circumstances, maybe coming from terrible backgrounds, or actually there's a refugee pathway to a green card. But if you're not an official refugee, then you really can't start that process while you're still here, you know, and you're living your life here. So I mean, I don't have the answers. Mostly,
No, I
go
think
for
that
it.
no,
Go for it.
great answer. I agree with much of that. I'll just kind of add to that a little bit. First of all, let me back up a little bit. I think it's unfair and wrong for the overwhelming fake news to always sympathize with the grandmother that's here illegally trying to make a living, so and intentionally neglect the criminal activity, and in worst cases, or in the drug cartels that come over illegally, and in worst cases, the families that are suffering from the murder of their family member from an illegal immigrant.
Yeah,
and
because
so
stuff like that happens.
That does happen often, and we've talked about that before. And just the drug cartels, the your sanctuary cities who are just hubs for lawlessness. So I say all that over here to kind of bring us toward the middle as we make a conclusion. I do think though that in my opinion, I think it's you have a problem on top of a problem on top of a problem. So there's not an easy
That's
fix.
where I was going to get to.
gotta-
But go ahead. I have something to add to that. But go ahead.
You got a problem on top of a problem. So if I were to place blame, first of all, I would place blame on the administrations in the past who have neglected the laws that are in place and allowed. Now, I'm going to sound pretty smart here for a second. Could I sound like an English major here because I looked up a word, but
Ooh, Wesley's gonna sound
and
smart.
you tell me if you know what this
Wow.
means, TJ. You're the English
Nope,
guy.
I don't.
But desafew, that's a law that is on the books but never enforced.
I was
so-
looking for that
yeah.
word like
Can
last
you
week for an article.
spell that?
Seriously.
I can.
Desafew?
Yeah. Well, actually, we're gonna save that for the
Well,
the bottom of the notes.
Yeah, there you
But-
go.
but the
EngageMagazine.net/podcast.
Yeah, but the point there is that over a period of time, if the lawmakers and the law enforcement don't fall or enforce the law, then the people won't. And so after 10, 15, 20 years, how is it? Now, the listening audience, feel free to throw stones at the bottom of the screen. I'm all for that. But how is it fair for us to punish or get on to the people who came here illegally if we're not, as a country, willing to enforce the laws that are on the books?
It's kind of like if you don't enforce speed limits for 20 years and people are going 100 miles an hour in a 60, and then one day somebody says, and then somebody says, oh, that's reckless driving. You're going to jail. So the thing is, what we have here. Yeah,
you go.
I got it.
Okay.
So the thing is that we have here is that we live in a sinful world that's full of sinful people. And we have imperfect laws written by imperfect people. And the thing is, we do have right now, we have multi-generational issues where adults illegally came to the country, crossed the border, built lives here, and now they've had kids, and these kids have graduated high school as Americans. And, Wesley, you even made the very normal statement, I was born here, I'm American.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These kids are.
Yeah, these kids are.
I firmly stand on a path to citizenship in that.
We have a bill out there for that.
Yeah, and I wanted you to tell us about that in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and now it's not perfect bill. No, there's hardly to find a perfect bill anywhere out there. However, a bill that AFA, our parent ministry, has gotten behind that I believe, looking at it, is just the most compassionate, best opportunity for a problem on top of a problem, and that is the Goodlet bill. I don't know where that is in the process. I think it's been a couple months since it was brought up, but the Goodlet bill basically provides not citizenship, but a pathway to citizenship for the kids that are here illegally, but it automatically grants them the green card process where they can work.
They don't have to go back like you were talking about.
Yeah, so they don't have to do that. They can work, and so they have that process. But at the same time, and as long as an 8 or 10 year process to citizenship.
But it opens the door.
It opens the door.
But there again goes back to what we talked about in the last segment. We do believe there needs to be a process.
Right, and so there's 2 steps to healing as a nation and as an individual. What we need to do is first, our government needs to recognize its lawlessness and correct that and secure the borders for the country. And secondly, there needs to be, as we've mentioned several times in the program, a process to pathway to citizenship.
Yep, absolutely. So
throw stones at the bottom.
Yeah, there you go. You know what?
We've ready.
Said a lot of things.
Yeah, we can talk about this.
Yeah, the thing is, there's so much to be said. We've got 30 minutes once a week to tackle these really big issues, and quite frankly, that's not enough time. And so we're going to put some links, engagemagazine.net/podcast. We've got several articles. Wesley's going to have a brand new article as soon as I give it a title. And but the thing is, let me just say this. There are biblical scriptural issues that we stand on, and there's other issues where we can disagree. We can disagree in grace. And whether it is or not, it is a worldview issue, and we want to share truth and apply scripture every day. We'll see you next week.